Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Yes, I'm just laughing to myself. And yes, when I'm by myself, my ancestors are always here. Yes, I can distinguish between the living and the perished. Alright, we're just gonna go. Um, anyway, thank you to my returning viewers. Quick greeting for everyone who's new. My name is Chimoge. That's my given name. Another name I let everyone call me is Moge. That's my Ahambu, my forename. It's the nickname that is foremost to me because it's closest to my heart, to my given name. Again, Chimoge is a shorter and yes, not as good form of Moge, but it is what it is. That's how things shook out. Hopefully, really, it'll have to be a group of people come along and change my given name in the future. Then I'll just note. I mean, it'll be noted forever that I started out as Chimoge now, and then we'll say Well, that's not even started from the bottom now. We have so many James and John out here. It's weird. My name's not good enough, but it's still a leg up on James, John, and all the other ones. Anyway, my government name is Chimoge Chijoke Ibe. My alternate white structured name is Chimoge Chijoke Ibe Nwoko. That's just a longer version of the government name. Ibe is a shortened form of Ibe Nwoko. My matrilineal village is Ebema Hafi, which is in West Africa. The reference point village for my patrilineage is Urata, which is also there in West Africa, north of the sea, south of the Sahara, and west of Central Africa. I was born in modern day Washington, D.C., which is part of a larger sector, which should be called Raw. Obodo Shimiri. Obodo Shimiri. Well, I guess that's another way to say it. Other words come out when I speak. That is a sector of Venus. Again, we can't see all the natural demarcations of the world today because our world is broken, but it will be fixed. May we fix heaven. I currently live in the Oshimiri of this world, the sacral chakra of this world. I live in a part of it that most people call Atlanta. Yes, and I'm standing where I live right now. I mean, I don't literally sleep in this spot, but I'm standing in Atlanta. Anyway, two facts about me. One, I love how lemon powder makes me feel. I love how lemon powder makes me feel. And yes, we need a language better than English so I can express that a different way. But I eat it and I feel positive. Very. In fact, that is the linchpin for me in improving my health, along with other things. The number one is Nama, the father of knowledge. Beef. Yes, and of course I eat many other things. I do other things for my health, including looking at the sun. Let me do that now. Let me peek out this window, look at the sun. Ah, there he is. Anyway, thank you to all my viewers. I've registered viewers. Every view is a blessing. Please like, share, and subscribe. Every comment is a blessing as well. I read comments at my discretion. Second fact about me, I like things that mix the colors pink and blue. I like things that mix the colors pink and blue. I think it looks nice. Anyway, so getting right to it, I'll say what I want, and then I'll say what my ancestors are making me do. You see? And side note, I'm saying that facetiously. Yes, I could very easily, well, it's a debate whether that's easy. Yes, I could go against what my ancestors are saying to me. I'm not a prisoner. It's just, if I do that, it feels bad. Going against what your ancestors say to you, and implicitly I'm talking about the good ones, I mean, I'll just say it like this: if a demon registers as an ancestor to you, you're probably a very evil person. Let me move. And I'll just leave that at that. Going against what your ancestors are telling you to do is like eating food that you know is bad for you and tastes bad. You could do it, just doesn't go well. Problem is, I think I'll just be rude and say most people on Earth are doing that. So we have people whose overall well-being is bad. Anyway, um, what I want to do, and as I say that, I'm thinking of metaphysics. Let me say it like this: what I want to do now. Hmm, okay, let me say it like this. It's not always easy to know what we truly want in terms of small things, and I'll leave it at that. Overall, it's pretty easy to know what you want. You want a good life, you want to be happy, and there's certain things you want to do. For example, me, I want to play soccer. I also want to talk about ideas like I'm doing now, okay? And then I want to eat lemon powder and chicken and beef and lobster. I also like cranberries, yeah. I also want to eat and then do things like that. That's overall easy, but detailed stuff, sometimes it can be hard. You're sitting there, which one do I want to do? So as I'm looking at this, it occurs to me that I want to, um, and there's caveats to that, because sometimes want comes up because something you didn't want to happen exploded, but that's a more complicated conversation. I want to um, just come up with four things to look at in order to figure out what Dr. Umar Johnson's religious beliefs are. That's, of course, the title of this live stream. But there's something else I want to do that's sweet to me. And what that is to just kind of further organize some other work I'm excited about. You guys saw yesterday when I figured out my first ever live stream leg. I've also put together a leg for some pre-recorded long videos. And then the one I really want to add to that, and I want to figure out how to unite them, is stuff about it's a leg to help me organize both making some extra art and uploading videos to new devices just to save, because it's annoying when they're all on my recording device. But sometimes when I do the small thing that's sweet to me, it's a form of procrastination I don't quite understand. And yes, as I speak, my ancestors help me articulate myself. Side note, I've talked about my inner life many times, but just because both of my experiences with unreasonable people and my observations of the world, I know there's a lot of people who become Inrinri and be very confused when I talk about talking to my ancestors. Side note, it also occurs to me that a lot of Christians really do not hear God, but for some reason they keep talking. Why do you keep saying praise the Lord if you don't hear him? Why do you keep saying, hey, my God spoke to me and you didn't hear? Just say I don't hear God and I read about him and I'll leave you alone, because not everyone even has the same power. Let me move. Anyway, just getting right into it. When I do the small things, my ancestors mess with me. So let's just talk about Umar. I mean, I just wish he wasn't doing all that. I'll be honest. There's so much religious hypocrisy in the world today that when someone is religiously inconsistent, I don't even look at it. Honestly, all I say is they're still afraid of mommy and daddy. That's really what it is. But um, sometimes there's Kalakana. Let's look. Yes, Kalakana can be bad. He is not what God claims to be. Anyway, but he's good 99% of the time. Just that 1% of the time, whipple, 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 whipple. Okay. Just, and I'm adding on to the paper I used on my previous live stream. Check it out as a Greatest Men Alive segment on Shimoge's comment. This paper about debates that are nonsense between different Christian groups that was a reaction to another YouTuber's thumbnail and title I saw. Anyway, also generally speaking, I'm just gonna say this: don't fan the flames of conflict, and I'll leave it at that. Don't do that. Like really, when it comes to your metaphysical beliefs, when relevant, just say what they are. Because the other problem is we have some people who are always on the corner talking about what they believe about this, that. We're not meant to worship and render. Ooh, I just saw the number 1111. The 11-minute, 11-second mark. Let's make a wish. Let's end all unnecessary conflict in the world. Expand forever. Yes, some conflict is necessary, but as soon as you see evil there, it was an unnecessary conflict, at least on some level. There is no need. There's no need to cut the life back short. Anyway, so let's just go Umar, religious beliefs. I just want to start off by saying something. When going into detail about religion, 99% of the time I talk about Christianity. I'm going to talk about, at least I'll mention a religion similar to Christianity today, which is Islam. But I just want to say two things. One, I'm not Muslim. I'm not an adherent of Islam. So just, take that for what you will. I'm not, someone who will just uh, advocate for its tenets, and I'll leave it at that. I'm trying to be respectful. Two, um, just most of the criticism of Islam tends to be racist, so just be mindful of that. Don't do that. Just don't be racist. But you know, me, like basically anyone else who studies religions and or is familiar with religions would just classify Islam as a religion that's similar to Christianity. So um, take that for what you will. But I'm just mentioning that because Dr. Umar, as most of you can see from his name, was at least to some extent raised as part of Islam. So when looking at his religious beliefs, that has to be taken into account. Again, I've talked about Islam in the past. Check out my video, Kemet Explained, in the lectured series, or the series of videos about that, and the overall video, Kemet Explained lecture, in on Shimoge's comments. I talked about it there when talking about the history of so-called ancient Egypt. But again, I don't focus on Islam specifically just because, generally speaking, I don't find it necessary. Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. Whew, okay. So first, because it's just overall, again, just don't. I mean, many people have a religious belief trajectory. I'll call it that. That doesn't seem to make logical sense in the world today for many reasons. I would just put Dr. Umar in that category. Perhaps when I do more research, I'll find something different. I'm not sure. I think he's him. So first, I want to deal with his beliefs about Christianity. Again, the biggest inconsistency here is that he's a critic of Christianity who's frequently spoken in churches. He'll literally stand in the church. Well, I guess in the church he doesn't literally say, I don't like Christianity, but he said it so many places. And then he'll come to churches to speak, and it doesn't really make sense. Um, you know, weird things happen. Sometimes you might have to speak in a place or partner with an organization you don't agree with. And to say it better, you might have to speak in a place that's used for things you don't agree with. But he's just done it so many times. It's just a big contradiction. I mean, that's just right there, yeah. So what are his, because I have to do beliefs then actions. So I'll just put Christianity. And then I'll put one beliefs. And then the elephant in the room. Are beliefs and actions really the same thing? Because the mind, like a thought, and again, I guess I have to think about this, but I'll just say this. Many thoughts at least are actions. Is believing an action? And I'll just leave it at that. Then the second one, I will just put Islam, and it's really the same thing. He said that, because to his account, okay, I'll just say this. He'll refer to his mother sometimes. I'm not sure the exact individual he's referring to. Obviously, I haven't met any of these people, but from reading about him online, like he has a Wikipedia article, just that kind of thing. And then anytime he makes the news, uh, articles about him will go up. But from reading, really his Wikipedia article, maybe it came up in some other articles. Um, he has a stepmother as well as a mother. Yeah, so he has a stepmother as well. I mean, everyone has a birth mother, obviously, but he also has a stepmother. Um, and I don't remember if his birth mother, forgive me. Well, let me just say this. I don't, it's just not clear what the relationship with each of them is. So we'll often talk about his mother. I'm not sure which individual he's talking about. I'm just saying that to set this up. He says that growing up, his mother was Christian and then his dad was Muslim. And he was originally born with the name Jermaine, which people get very lazy. Any name that is commonly used in English, and even that's quite a concept. How do I even say that? I'll just say it like this. Any names. Oh, goodness. Okay, I'll just say this. There is no such thing as an English name because English is not a proper language. They're just some names that most people tend to say are an English name. And I'll leave it at that. Now, I think most people would tend to say Jermaine is an English name, but I've never heard of well, at least I was gonna say I've never heard of a Saint Germain, but obviously, you have Paris Saint Germain. But that one's spelled with the G, not a J. I don't know. Um, anyway, I've read the Bible before. I didn't see Saint Germain in there. I didn't see the Prophet Germain either. So I think he might have said he was named after Jermaine Jackson. Let me move. Anyway, the point is, he started out with a name that Christians might claim. And I'll just say it like that because Christians tend to claim any name that most people will say is English. And I'll leave it at that. It doesn't make sense. But then his dad renamed him with a Muslim name. So I just wonder, was he baptized? Because when I'm looking at things quickly to just see about parental intent, the first thing I look at with Christianity was the person baptized. If they were baptized, I'll say, okay, there was at least intent to quote unquote raise them Christian, which is kind of a crazy concept, but it is what it is. But then eventually, um, he was at least converted to Islam. And I just want to know, I'm not a fan of telling kids what their religion is or anything like that. They should just be able to live like people and pick what they do. But anyway, um, into adulthood, to his account, he was a Muslim. Really, when he began speaking publicly, I don't remember if he was still Muslim according to his account during his first Breakfast Club interview. Because I know he had his first interview that kind of went international in like 2010. But 2015, he did a Breakfast Club interview. That's where he reached a new level of fame, you see. Um, but there was a point, because I've seen videos of him from between 2010 and 2015. Um, there's some of those videos where he was still saying he was Muslim, right? And then he's often called himself Umar Abdullah Johnson. Obviously, Abdullah is a name in Arabic. Um, so the whole thing I'm getting at is he was Muslim for a long time, but then he stopped being Muslim. And that leads into the third category, and I will just call this, I will call it, because I'll just call it African traditional religions, and I'll put that in quotes because that category really doesn't make metaphysical sense, but it's just and I'm gonna use the euphemistic term here. It's Nobaku Ikenga Echiche. Okay, you see. Uh, I'll just call it African religions because he said that he's an ordained minister of Ifa, um, which is one group there. And side note, some people use that term just to refer to practices that were used in, I guess, Southwest, like what is modern day Southwest Nigeria historically. So that's not a group, it's just a term for um, practices. Again, I'm not a fan of using the term. I'll just say, be specific about what you're talking about. But, some people choose to use the term. Um, because again, we just have a habit of orienting everything in the world around, unfortunately, cults. Because again, Christianity is a cult, right? Secularism is also a cult. Atheism is a cult. Really, those are the three that dominate the most. Everyone orients themselves from that. What does that mean? Even when looking at non-cults, people try and put them in a cult. You look at some people in West Africa living, you say, what was their cult? You give it a name in their language. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, um, uh, so, and I wonder, should I do something different with the African religions thing? Because that category is even more vague than Christianity and other religions. Here's what I have so far. Let's walk. Hope you can see that. I know the angle I'm at, the lighting might be weird for you guys looking at it, but this is the best I can do with the smoke. I don't know if it's useful to ask what he believes about secularism. Should I look at atheism? Um, Let me give out a bonus piece of information because I'm still thinking. Eat lemon powder. Eat lemon powder. It's good for your overall well-being. I endorsed it earlier. Further endorsement. Eat lemon powder. Yes. Still thinking of this African religions thing. Let's do more. Because he said he's an ordained. Okay, so let's start with the beliefs and actions things. So, in terms of his beliefs, he's actually talked about them. He gave, I guess, a lecture. He called it Orisha psychology a few years ago. He talked about the Orishas and tied them to mind states. Um, so, I mean, you can see that. I mean, on Christianity, he's just said it's bad, and the main reason he said it's bad is that it's not pro-black. He said the same thing about Islam. Really, he treats them the same. Um, but I will be honest because Christianity gets more exposure than Islam. I just wonder, even if you're going to critique Islam, if you have a first-hand experience with it, why not give your audience some more exposure to it? I know maybe many people who've seen him in person might already know about it. Maybe he thought, okay, there's no need, but internationally or even just outside, what was that flicker? Is that light okay? I just saw a flicker there. Saw the God of Thunder. Anyway, let me not look into the light too much. You know, they always say not to look into the sun. Obviously, you shouldn't, but really, should you look into the light bulb? I don't know. Anyway, um, yeah, but what I'm saying is it could have. It's interesting to me. He's never say at least to my knowledge, done a lecture in, a Muslim place of worship. Um, I haven't seen him debate a Muslim scholar. I haven't seen him debate a Muslim religious leader, but he's done that with Christians. At least I've seen him debate Christian religious leaders. I feel like he might have debated or talked to some sort of Christian scholar. Let me move a bit. So anyway, I'm just wondering about that. My whole point is, it seems like when it comes to practical things, he's really stayed mainstream in a way. And I say in a way because obviously a lot of what he says and does is mainstream, but in a way he has, just because he's engaged with Christianity disproportionately. In a way, it's interesting he even brings up Islam. Hmm. Better. Hmm. I'm thinking of what to do with Ifá because um how do I articulate this? Umar has talked most specifically about Ifa, but at the same time, he talks about African traditional religions a lot. And he has some very specific critiques of them, but these things are not really mainstream. Let me walk. Side note, ancestors are telling me some information. Eze, the second best man in this world and really in general, primarily manifests as non-person things. Things like integrity. I mean, it's the same thing. Structural integrity. Even the parts of your body that allow you to stand upright and withstand trauma. Things of that nature, right? For example, what we call our skeleton is the subset of the Eze. Why am I saying this? Eze, and again, different parts of it might be different, but Eze overall can also mean shed. In other words, that thing you call Eze eventually will be reborn. It will shed itself. So that's just a piece of information I got. Why am I throwing that out? I'm just thinking real time. So, I just want to share that information. Anytime I come up with something, I want to share it. And then I want to hear what you guys think about it and add to it. Anyway, just something there. Forgive me, I'm just thinking here. I'll be honest. This area feels like a stumbling block. I'm seeing like 10 things. Let's zoom out. What's my goal here? Oh, this is an addition to the Umar study. Let's look at it. Side note, patronize my business. Here are ways you can donate. You can also buy my art, buy my merchandise, and subscribe on Patreon at the paid tiers. If you subscribe on the paid tiers, even at the lowest level, you get access to all my art. And at the higher levels, you get other things. Here's my PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App where you can donate to. I'll shout those out again at the end, but I just saw them. I felt compelled to share them again. Anyway, let's find the Umar study. Do I have the papers here? Yeah, here it is. Okay, this is just added to the Umar study. Again, the Umar study. Before I decided I would look at Dr. Umar's different broadcasts, both his own broadcasts and interviews he's done. So there's different interviews and different broadcasts of his own I'll look at. And then the goals of this study are fourfold. One, to see what percent of what Umar says is true. Two, to see what percent of what he says is false. Three, to see how the two mix. And four, to look at his emotions during the broadcast. Now I'm adding in this religion thing, so it'll feed into those overall goals. Um, and again, this is the first study of this nature I'm doing, so forgive me if it's a little crude, but I'm just trying to contribute to public discourse here. Um, I'm looking at the emotions during the broadcast. Uh, um, I guess for the Christianity and religious beliefs thing, I could just, and obviously as I'm talking, I'm seeing Christianity is the big one to focus on here. But I could just adjust it to say, how does he feel about these things? Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of Kalakana starting with the greatest man alive. Anyway, um, what am I gonna add to the paper here? I think so I have actions and beliefs about African religions. Let me just be crude. You know what? I think this is what it is. I have to put Ifa as the last one in its own category. Um, which in a way makes my mind explode because in the public imagination, it's just another one of those African religions. And really, if you want to have some consistency here in terms of how people engage with these things quickly, I guess in their minds, because obviously when you break down these groups, they intermingle. But it would just, I would just say it would seem more normal to group it in with the African religions, but I can't really say he does based off his overall, um, what he said in his actions. And then I think on the African religions things I'll note, I should just look for specific groups mentioned, other than Ifa. Okay. Anyway, what will you know what? I think this is the Ebera. Let me put Ebera here. Kabranum Nogoha. You see, the things don't just manifest as people, they also manifest as things, actions, and techniques. One technique for doing multiple things at once, I'll just say that. One technique for doing multiple things at once is having one action that always goes with something else. That is called the Ebera, the grace. For example, if you have 5 people you have to go visit, you could decide that after each visit, I'm going to text a 6th person. That text is your ebere. That's your 6. You see what I mean? So that's one example. So when I'm talking about ebere, what I'm saying is that when I'm looking through these two things, his own broadcast and then his interviews. Sorry, I'm angled it wrong. So there's his own broadcast, and I know most people in English won't just say you're making a broadcast, but this is what it is. I hope you understand what I'm saying. English is kind of awkward. And then there's his interviews, right? So each video I look at, I'm gonna make this in a bear. I'm gonna evaluate. All right, what can I glean about these things from those videos? And I think I'll just limit myself to that. I won't do extra research on his beliefs on Christianity, Islam, African religions, and Ifa, just because I have a general sense of what he's done there, and also just time and energy. Because at some point, you probably have to ask him direct questions about these things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Um, let's put extra colors on it. Better. Abume better better ba 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 ba. This is a better in Kala. Why? I don't know. My ancestors are telling me that. There's different types of Ibera. You have the grace of the land. Ebere in Kala. Amara mimala. Abume bere ala. Abume bere ala nuwa. Abume bere ala madioha. Ebere ala bua madioha. The grace of the land, the mercy of the land. That's something you call a madioha, although primarily that thing is part of the bear itself, yes. But again, boo, you boom it out. There's many levels of boo. Ironically, the most common one is where it's not your primary thing, but it's part of your set of secondary things. So, do need to draw the boo thing out. Yeah, anyway. Okay. Abume Berez ha ha Abume Bere ka Abume Bere karakana Abume Bere no kikeya Abume Bere Ayam Abure Bere bu Oshun Kabunam no goha. You see, I learned that a word used for the ocean, and to my understanding, was the primary word used for the ocean in the dialect that's commonly spoken today in my matrilineal village at Ben Moafi. Again, I don't know firsthand because I haven't been there very much, unfortunately. Just family breakdown, and then I was born in the U.S. But anyway, the primary word used for the ocean, at least one of them, is Anyim, Anyim. Now, I wasn't told metaphysically what it literally means on a, I'll just call it in Rinri level. Again, in Rinri, you see those animals we call cockroaches in Rinri, they're only cockroaches when they're bad. But even when they're good, they have a certain nature. but they're not something that shouldn't exist. They're always looking into very small things, even if they seem unimportant. But that's an aspect of everything. So every word has its overall meaning, and then you can break it down. When you break it down, there's the Inrinri meaning. I hope you know what I'm saying. Inri means food. I call it that animal food. Why? It's eating too much food. And it's eating so much food, you shouldn't eat it. Because if you eat every piece of food, you won't be healthy. Anyway, but again, eat. Please eat. Eat until you're satisfied and eat stuff that's good for your health. Okay, I just always emphasize that because one, I want to help improve people's overall well being. And two, there are a lot of groups out here, unfortunately, and people as well who are telling people not to eat in various ways. Not good. Anyway, eat. Um, so I wasn't told like the breakdown of what the word literally means on a small level, in Rinri level. But when I look at it, I see two words that I can easily find. Anyi, A-N-Y-I. That means us, right? You can also say in different contexts that means our, like in kind of us, our. And then which means me. So, my ancestors told me a translation for Ainyan because it refers to the whole thing you call Oshun. But the thing is, the name Oshun comes from the first rhythm of the thing. Ainyan is the name of the second rhythm of the thing. You see, and this is, of course, the love of the life of the god of thunder, the love of the life of Amadioha. So, Ainyan means us, me. Our me, the collective me. My ancestors told me you can translate Ainum into English, or really the language is the base of English, as our greatness. Think about it. The collective me, that's great, it's our greatness. But also when I'm thinking about it, yummy, nice. It's like our pleasure, that's our greatness. And that term also means wife, right? So it's that thing, which manifests on many different levels, you see. Obviously you have the level of, person in a relationship, who's of that gender, but then also you have other things that apparently are part of the wife on a metaphysical level. I'll give two examples. One, apparently stuff like what we call an HR, like a human resources department, is a subset of Ainu, right? Two, stuff that you put around the house to beautify it, which again is not impractical. Again, there's a duality here. You don't want to become so materialistic that you say spend money you don't have to beautify your house. At the same time, if your house is completely bare, it's not good for the mind. And I'll leave it at that. But everyone has their level, but everyone needs something. So that's also a subset of Ainu. What am I saying here? When we're thinking about the different things that exist and different categories and energy categories, we have to remember that they manifest as non-people as well as people. And then when we're thinking about things like well-being and then crime, both the good and the bad, we have to remember that the way people talk about and treat non-people can tell us how they'll treat people as well. So I'll leave it at that. But then also when we're expanding how we speak language and, returning to our proper way of speaking, we should open our minds because maybe there's certain things that we want to be able to name as one thing we don't know how to. Look at something else, you can find it. I never would have thought consciously, okay, I can call things like the HR department part of the wife, but then it's like, when my ancestors talk to me and I think about it, it makes sense, and there are many levels to that. And then also, because obviously there's a gendered aspect to that, it goes without saying a man could be part of the HR department. So it's like, that's another example of how these things all weave together. And I'll just leave it at that. Anyway. So, my parents teach you. Abu motivation. Abu Mamadeo. Amadio. Abu Okikeka. Okikeya. Abu Mokikeya. Abu Mokikeka. Kike kaka. Aneme kike. Neba. Aneme kike kaka. Ki, to give out. Ke, cut, but really you can also use to mean share. I mean, obviously there's an aggressive aspect to cutting, but cutting is not always, I mean, I'll just say it. You have to cut your food to eat it, right? I'll just leave it at that. You get what I mean. Cut, really, because think about it. Our existence is not evil, so the vast majority of cuts are not anything evil. I'll leave it at that. Two, you can also call it share, like something that you cut, it's a share. So, kike, I'm giving out people's cut, I'm giving out their share, that kind of thing. I'm just saying to myself as I do things. Abu mama, amar mama. This is fine. Okay. Anyway, I think I'll end the live stream. Uh, I'm gonna end this here. Shoo shoo kaka, shoo shoo uwa, shoo kaka. Excuse me, it looks like I have to go. There's a fire alarm. See you guys next time. Please patronize the business.